This story begins with a deadly virus outbreak that has turned the entire world's population into zombies. But these are no ordinary zombies. They are so fast that they can even chase down an airplane. Some are so intelligent that they can think beyond human logic. And a few of them can track their prey from miles away just by scent. In this world consumed by danger, only 2 humans are still alive. Will they survive or not? That's what we'll find out in today's video. At the start, we see a young boy sitting in his room watching cartoons on TV. Suddenly, the broadcast cuts off and an emergency report flashes on the screen. The news wipes the smile off his face. The TV announces that a highly toxic virus has spread across the globe, and anyone infected turns into a terrifying zombie within minutes. The virus is spreading rapidly, and now the entire world is under its grip. The reporter warns anyone watching to quickly find a safe place. As the boy processes this, he suddenly hears strange noises coming from the room upstairs. His throat tightens with fear. Slowly, he climbs up to check, only to realize it was just a prank by his elder sister. Relieved, the 2 siblings then go to their mother's room, where they find her deeply worried. She is on the phone with her husband, explaining the situation. Her husband, a pilot, tells his wife and kids that the virus is spreading everywhere. He warns them not to wait for him at home, but to leave the city as quickly as possible. He reassures his children that nothing will happen to them, because their mother will take them to safety. And he shows them a bracelet on his wrist, a lucky charm made by his daughter Abigail. Seeing it makes Abigail smile with joy. Meanwhile, their mother hurriedly packs their belongings. But soon, they hear loud screams coming from outside. Without wasting time, she takes both children and rushes out of the house. Just as they are about to get into the car, a zombie suddenly attacks their mother. Terrified, little Abigail hides under the vehicle, and with her own eyes, watches her mother and younger brother being killed by the zombie. The monster doesn't notice her hiding, and eventually walks away. Shaking with fear, Abigail then sees something even worse. Her mother has turned into a zombie too. As her zombified mother lurches toward her, about to attack, a man appears like a guardian angel. He kills Abigail's mother and saves her life. Moments later, they realize Abigail's younger brother is also transforming into a zombie. The man gently tells Abigail to cover her ears, and then he shoots her infected brother to stop him. The story then jumps forward 10 years. By now, human civilization has completely collapsed because of the zombie virus. The once vibrant and glowing cities have turned into deserted wastelands. And almost all humans are either dead or roaming the earth as zombies. Only 2 people remained alive. One of them was Abigail, the little girl Jack had saved years ago. Now she had grown up. Since that day, Abigail had been raised under Uncle Jack's watchful eyes. He trained her, teaching her how to fight and survive against zombies. If Jack had not come into her life back then, Abigail would have been long gone. That's why she considered him more than a guardian. She saw him as her father. One night, while they were camping in the woods, Jack suddenly woke up after hearing a strange noise. Quietly, he stepped outside the tent to investigate, only to be attacked by a zombie. Jack instantly fired multiple bullets, killing it. Abigail also rushed to his side. After 10 years of hunting zombies together in the forest, both of them had learned one important fact. Zombies always traveled in packs. Realizing the danger, they quickly packed up and rode away on their horses. But soon, the horses grew restless and neighed nervously. Jack immediately understood. Something dangerous was close. Looking around, they spotted a jeep overturned in the distance. A man was desperately fighting off zombies, struggling to survive. Since humans were so rare now, Jack and Abigail knew they had to help him. Jack also wanted to test Abigail's shooting skills. So he told her, "You're going to save that man. Let's see if you're fully ready." He instructed her to stay calm, aim carefully, and take the shot. But in her hurry, Abigail fired too soon. A bullet struck not only the zombie, but also hit the survivor. Shocked, Jack scolded her angrily. The 2 rushed to the wounded man, only to realize he wouldn't survive. To prevent the risk of him turning into a zombie, Jack ended his life with his own hands. Afterwards, they searched his vehicle for supplies. Jack even took the dead man's shoes and put them on. But just then, several of the man's companions arrived, armed and dangerous. When one of them noticed Jack wearing their friend's shoes, suspicion grew. They believed Jack and Abigail had killed him just to steal his belongings. The group raised their weapons, ready to execute the two. But at that moment, a pregnant woman stepped out of a car and ordered her men to spare them. Before anything more could happen, Jack's black horse cried out again in warning. In the very next instant, terrifying noises erupted from the forest. A massive horde of zombies stormed toward them like a raging storm. They came so fast that there was no chance to escape. Everyone had no choice but to draw their weapons and fight. Though the group was armed, the sheer number of zombies overwhelmed them. One by one, many fighters were bitten and killed. In the chaos, a strong man was bitten as well. Realizing his fate, he tried to take his own life with a gun. Soon, their guns ran out of bullets. By then, they knew they couldn't fight anymore. Abigail quickly pulled the pregnant woman into the vehicle where her husband was already sitting. Jack jumped into the driver's seat, started the engine, and sped away. Out of the entire group, only the four of them had survived. Everyone else had fallen prey to the zombies. Meanwhile, a dark-faced zombie saw the death of his fellow creatures and grew furious. On the other side, the survivors drove through the forest, trying to escape. During the ride, Jack asked the woman sitting in the back, "Who are you, and what were you doing out here?" She explained that they were headed to a place called Ship Town, a safe zone where humans still lived. It was said to have all the necessary facilities, and their dream was to start a normal life there. Hearing this filled Abigail with joy, because that was exactly the kind of place she had always dreamed of finding. But Jack dismissed the idea. "There is no such colony," he said firmly. "I've been wandering for 10 years and never found one." Just then, their vehicle broke down in the middle of the road. The pregnant woman's husband, David, stepped out and revealed that he was a mechanic. He tried to fix it, but without tools, there was nothing he could do. So, they abandoned the car and continued their journey on foot. After walking several kilometers, they came across an abandoned housing complex. Tall buildings still stood, but an eerie silence hung in the air. They carefully scouted the area first, and once they felt it was safe, they decided to spend the night there. At night, they lit a fire and cooked food. Abigail, still desperate to reach Ship Town, began talking to the pregnant woman about it. She revealed that they had already made radio contact with people living there. It was described as a beautiful place where humans could live freely again. Abigail's eyes lit up with hope. Meanwhile, Jack set traps around the perimeter so that if zombies approached, they would know immediately. He then came inside, spread out a map, and explained his plan. He would guide Megan and David part of the way, and then they would take a separate route. Abigail, however, was upset with this decision. She argued that David could never protect his pregnant wife alone, and insisted that they should all travel together. Jack replied, "We have to be smart. The more people there are, the greater the danger." Abigail walked away. Neither of them knew that the dark-faced zombie had already tracked their scent from the car and was approaching. The next morning, Abigail was sitting on the rooftop, staring at an old photograph from her childhood, when she suddenly heard rustling in the trees below. She realized zombies had entered the area. She rushed downstairs to warn everyone, but a zombie began chasing her. Abigail climbed the stairs quickly and shoved the creature off, but in doing so, she lost her balance and nearly fell herself. At the last second, Jack caught her and pulled her back to safety. Moments later, the dark-faced zombie and his horde arrived. They had tracked the humans by the scent of their fallen companion, but as they advanced, they were caught in the traps Jack had set, and many of them were destroyed in explosions. Hearing the blasts, Jack understood. The zombie pack had reached the place they camped the previous night and were still pursuing them. Luckily, they had already moved on. As they continued their journey, Abigail remembered something. Nearby was a small airport where her father used to work. Perhaps some planes might still be there. If they were lucky, they could use one to reach Ship Town safely. But Jack disagreed. An airport is an open space. If the zombies surround us, there will be no way out, and chances are there won't even be a working plane left. Yet, after Abigail's repeated pleading, Jack reluctantly agreed. They reached the airport, only to find it completely empty with no airplanes in sight. Jack shook his head. "See, I told you there wouldn't be any planes. But then, while exploring a small garage nearby, they discovered something. As soon as they open the door, luckily they find a small airplane inside. Seeing this, everyone becomes very happy because now their journey to Shiptown seems much easier. But the plane hadn't been used in many years. That's why David, who was a mechanic, says it needs some fixing. Not too much, he adds. I'll repair it within 10 to 15 minutes. While David is busy repairing the aircraft, Jack and Abigail start searching the airport for useful supplies. But then through the binoculars, David notices a huge horde of zombies approaching from afar, and they'll soon reach the plane. He runs over and warns the others, we need to get this plane started immediately, otherwise the zombies will be here and we'll be dead. Abigail quickly takes the pilot's seat and starts reading the manuals lying around. Her father used to be a pilot, so she had picked up some basic knowledge about flying from him. Meanwhile, Jack opens fire at the zombies, trying to slow them down. Somehow, Abigail manages to start the plane, but by then, it's already too late. Many zombies have reached the runway. They were moving fast, and one even manages to get right up to the airplane door. Jack shoots it just in time, saving the plane from being overrun, while Abigail finally gets control of the aircraft. Together, they manage to take off. Everyone inside the plane feels relieved and overjoyed, thinking they'll soon reach Shiptown safely. But their happiness doesn't last long. After flying for just a short distance, smoke starts coming out of the engine. Since the plane hadn't flown in over 10 years, its engine fails and suddenly blasts, forcing the plane to descend rapidly. Jack keeps his cool and manages to crash land the plane into a tree. They get injured, but thankfully their lives are spared. However, the airplane is now completely useless, so they are forced to continue their journey on foot. After walking for quite some distance, they arrive at an abandoned railway station. It's already night, so they carefully check the surroundings for danger. Finding no zombies nearby, they decide to spend the night there. They pull out a map and check their location, realizing they're now only 2 days away from Shiptown. The pregnant woman approaches Jack and thanks him, saying, if it weren't for you, we would have never made it this far. Hearing this, Jack starts to feel sympathy for Megan. He then shares his story. 10 years ago, when the zombie virus first began, the very first person he had to kill was his own wife because she was about to bite him. Since that day, Jack admits, the human part of him has died. Now, the only person he lives for is Abigail, whom he has swore to protect at any cost. He also tells Megan that his priorities have changed. He now wants to make sure she reaches Shiptown safely as well. Megan feels happy and relieved after hearing this. Meanwhile, we see Megan's husband David holding a gun to his own head, attempting to take his life. The truth is, a zombie had bitten his leg, but since the wound was small, the infection was spreading very slowly. That's why he hadn't turned yet. David decides that once he gets Megan to Shiptown, he will separate from her before it's too late. The next morning, the group of 4 continues their journey. Along the way, Jack notices David acting strangely. He quickly realizes David is infected, so he pulls him aside, away from Abigail and Megan. Jack lifts David's pants and sees the bite mark clearly. Now it's confirmed. David will soon turn into a zombie. Jack asks him, tell me, do you want to end your life yourself, or should I do it? David replies, I won't hurt anyone, and if the time comes, I'll take my own life. Hearing this, Jack lets him go. As night falls, they come across a house. Jack aims his gun and cautiously approaches, but suddenly, a bright spotlight shines on them, and a voice booms through speakers. Drop your weapons now, or you'll be riddled with bullets. That's when they realize someone is living inside. Abigail steps forward and says, we don't mean any harm. We just need help. The owner of the house steps outside and says, I'll give you food and shelter for the night, but only on one condition. As soon as they left their weapons outside, the man welcomed them inside the house. He introduced himself as a scientist and told them he lived there alone. He explained that even though he could have left, he preferred staying in such isolated places because it made his research easier. Inside, he served them a proper meal, something they hadn't tasted in a very long time. Everyone was surprised to see such fresh food and immediately began eating. After dinner, the scientist even brought them drinks. For the first time in many days, the group felt relaxed, sitting together and having a conversation. But while listening to the scientist's words, they started noticing something strange. The man said that this virus, although terrible, had also upgraded humanity. According to him, the weak would be eliminated, and only the strong would survive as zombies. He claimed that zombies were not living for progress, but only to feed, and therefore they should be the ones ruling the world. Hearing this made the four very uneasy. Just then, David began feeling very sick and rushed to the bathroom. Looking into the mirror, he realized the infection had completely spread throughout his body. When he returned to the hall, he was shocked to see Jack and the others lying unconscious. The scientist had secretly mixed a drug into their drinks. David angrily attacked the scientist, but the man pressed a button on a small device he was holding. Immediately, David felt an intense weakness and collapsed to the ground. The scientist proudly said that he had spent years building this device, which allowed him to travel anywhere safely, as zombies could not harm him anymore. In fact, he had created a way to control the undead themselves. David eventually fainted, and when he woke up, he saw that he and his companions were tied up. The scientist was preparing to conduct experiments on them. While doing this, the man asked if they would like to meet his wife. To their shock, his wife was revealed to be a zombie, locked inside a cage. The scientist regularly fed her living humans, and the device he created was first tested on her. When the cage door opened, the zombie wife immediately tried to attack him. But the scientist used his device to control her and sent her toward the group. She lunged at Jack, who barely managed to kick her back. At that moment, David, using the strange strength from the virus in his body, broke free from the ropes and released the others. Sensing danger, the scientist quickly escaped, while the four grabbed their belongings and rushed outside. Luckily, they found the man's car parked outside. Without wasting time, they got in and drove off into the forest. However, the scientist wasn't ready to give up. He used his device to command a huge horde of zombies to chase after them. Jack pushed the car's speed to the limit and managed to leave the undead far behind. But soon, the road was blocked, and they had no choice but to continue on foot. Not long after they started walking, the zombies caught up with them again. David realized he had very little time left before fully transforming. He insisted the others go ahead, while he stayed back to fight. His wife begged him not to do it, but David reminded her she needed to survive for the sake of their baby. "I'm doing this for our child," he said with determination. David then fought the zombies fiercely, buying precious time for his friends to escape. Eventually, however, he was overwhelmed and one of the undead killed him. Jack carried Megan in his arms and pushed forward, with Abigail running beside him. Finally, they reached a place where human settlements were still alive. Abigail shouted for help as a massive swarm of zombies was closing in from behind. Guards on the tower spotted them and immediately began firing with sniper rifles, giving them cover. Soon, a boat was sent to rescue them, and the three survivors climbed aboard, reaching Shiptown at last. Meanwhile, the black-faced zombie ordered his horde to stop, since they could not cross the water. On the other side, Megan went into labor and urgently needed medical help. Fortunately, the settlement had doctors and hospital facilities. By the next morning, it was revealed that this town had been built by connecting several giant ships together, forming a floating city in the middle of the water. Jack tells Abigail that they should move on from here, but Abigail decides to stay. She feels happy being among people once again. This decision sparks a heated argument between them. Just then, a doctor arrives with news. Megan has given birth to a baby girl, but due to excessive bleeding, she might not survive long. Hearing this breaks Jack's heart. He rushes to Megan's room, where she lies weak, handing over her baby to Jack. She wishes that her daughter grows up strong, just like Abigail. Memories of Jack's late wife flash before his eyes, and he agrees to take care of Megan's child as his own. Meanwhile, Abigail is enjoying the company of a handsome young man. She never imagined people could gather, drink, and dance freely to music in such a lively atmosphere. This strengthens her desire to stay here. A little later, she secretly follows the young man to a cabin. He is shocked to find it filled with wires, bombs, and a wireless detonator. As soon as she touches the switch, the man rushes in and reveals the truth. If the town ever faces danger, they will use this as an escape route, blowing the place apart to protect the survivors. Unfortunately, that moment arrives sooner than expected. The furious scientist arrives at the ship town, angry that so many zombies, his key to ruling the world, have been destroyed. Using his control device, he brings the black-faced zombie king under his command. With his help, the water barriers no longer matter. Soon, hordes of zombies crawl out from beneath the waters, storming the ships and slaughtering many people. Chaos spreads everywhere. Jack learns of the attack and grows worried for Abigail. Fighting his way through the zombies, he finally finds her. But the scientist also reaches the ship, punching Abigail and knocking her down. Enraged, Jack charges at him, but a zombie intervenes, pushing Jack into a tank where the scientist also follows to finish him off. The scientist attacks Jack, but Jack cleverly smashes the device on his hand against the wall, breaking it. Without the device, the scientist loses his control over zombies and is quickly devoured by them. Luckily, the camp already had an escape route through tunnels leading to the other side of the river. Survivors rush through. But when it's time to detonate the bombs, the handsome young man hesitates because Abigail is still inside. Jack and Abigail manage to escape, but the zombie king grabs her from behind. Jack strikes it on the head with a wooden plank, forcing it back. That's when Abigail notices the bracelet on the zombie king's hand. It was the same bracelet she had made long ago for her father. The horrifying truth hits her. The zombie king was her father. Despite this, Jack drags her forward, urging her to run. Seeing them flee, the young man finally presses the switch, blowing the entire ship town into ashes. Yet, the battle isn't over. The camp leader appears, already bitten, and soon after, the zombie king emerges from the blast, still alive. Jack fights him, but is no match. Abigail picks up a gun from the ground, torn by emotion. She knows this monster was once her father, but right now, he is about to kill Jack, a man who raised and protected her. Without hesitation, she shoots the zombie king, saving everyone. In the end, Jack and Abigail embrace each other. Along with the remaining survivors, they set their eyes on a lonely island far away in the ocean, deciding to build a new human settlement there. This was today's story, but many more are waiting. Hit the subscribe button and join us on the next adventure.